Sup guys, it is me, Goji, my Epic Killer. And as a lot of you know, I like heavy metal music a lot. I have almost 400 playlists on my Spotify, which is in much part thanks to my time here at home in quarantine. I've been at home since March, which makes it that I've been home 9 months. 9 months. And what are you going to do besides listen to a bunch of music and make a bunch of playlists? It makes sense. Among these playlists, I decided to go through the years of 2018 and 2019 and make playlists. Not just for those specific years, but for the top 10 albums of that year, which we are going to go through today, starting with 2019 because it's freshest in my brain. But in any case, we are starting with the honorable mention of the year. Figure we'd put that right up at the start of the list. Fire from the Gods, their album from 2019, American Sun. And this album, I was really surprised by. I was very surprised at just how diverse of a sound and unique of a sound they had. And they're obviously very popular because if you go on like the radio stations like Octane, their song right now is very popular. Very popular. As well as songs like Trust and Make You Feel It and Another Level. Some of the sounds even sound like reggae, which is really cool, really interesting. And doing like the rapping is just another great band that, and again, another great up-and-coming band. They toured with Five Finger Death Punch over the summer and into the winter, if I remember rightly. And I forget who else was on that tour, but it was them when they were opening up for Five Finger Death Punch, and they got a huge amount of credit for that and got to get a bunch of exposure for the rest of their other 2 albums that they have under their belt and are probably off to do amazing things. We have Fever 333 and their album Strength in Numbers. This is a hugely political album. Hugely political. Right up there along the lines of System of a Down and Rage Against the Machine. They got a ton of exposure going on tour that summer with Korn and Under Oath and Alice in Chains. Hugely popular. Hugely amazing sound with songs like Animal and One of Us, Burn It, and The Innocent. Very hard-hitting political commentary about the issues facing the African American community and the injustices that continue to plague this country. Again, another entirely unique sound from these bands, from this band. Very unique sound, up and coming, new, and just bringing a very unique sound to the new wave of heavy metal that will carry through generations. Next up on the album list, we are going to look at a much more established band for our number 9 spot. Jidim by Rings of Saturn, getting into the technical death metal, technical deathcore area of things. Rings of Saturn instantly gained infamy amongst the technical death metal world with their first 2 albums. And from there, they only continued to gain popularity with albums like Lugal Kien and the album that preceded this. They're once again back at it. Not necessarily redefining, but just showing more and more of their technical prowess with Lucas Mann on guitars. Just shredding. Lots of interesting sounds on this album. Lots of guest appearances. Again, just showing the true extent of technical deathcore and the amazing sounds, especially with their debut single, The Husk. An incredibly amazing song, as well as with another instrumental, the title track, Jidim, along with other amazing songs like Pustules, Hypodermis Glitch, and Genetic Inheritance. All are amazing songs that add to their already legendary roster of songs and just truly giving more and more credit to the technical death metal scene. Next up, a much more controversial pick for our number 8 spot on this list. We have Issues and their album, Beautiful Oblivion. Now, recently they have come under fire with their vocalist being, getting in trouble for his grooming issue, and getting all up in there with the children. Not okay. 100% glad that they got rid of their vocalist, because that is not okay. Although it will definitely mean that they're getting a new sound with records to come. That does not mean that the songs on this album are bad, because they are. With songs like Find Forever and Downfall and Second Best and Flexin', all just showing and giving more life to the new metalcore sound. They truly are really, really good songs. Great guitar tones, great lyrics. More poppy, not as much into the technical death metal kind of sound as we had with the last album, but still, wonderful songs. Wonderful songs, very, very memorable. And great hooks, great choruses, great drumming and guitar work, great bass, kind of funk bass kind of sound in it. Just super, super great stuff. On to the number 7 pick for 2019. After 13 years of waiting, we have Tool's newest album, Fear Inoculum. Some would say that this would be their number 1 pick, and I can 100% see why. It is filled to the brim with riffs and drums and guitar and bass and vocals. 13 to 15 minute long songs. To the casual listener, it may be a bit much because it does take a long time to build up to the songs. They wind such long paths that, some might say it's too long. It's no surprise that they were able to beat out Taylor Swift for the number 1 spot on iTunes, as well as have all of their albums get to top charting on the iTunes charts as well, and have them beat out Taylor Swift on Billboard as well. Fear Inoculum is the progressive metal pinnacle. Super long songs, great songs, lots of hooks, lots of jam feel. With songs like Fear Inoculum, Invincible, Culling Voices, and Mocking Beat and Tempest, all winding such beautiful, beautiful orchestrations of heavy metal. You will not find many better examples of progressive metal than Fear Inoculum. Number 6, we have for 2019, Lacuna Coil and their album Black Anima. I was a big fan of their albums like Dark Adrenaline and Delirium and Karma Code. Huge, amazing band. Super cool songs. Songs like Sword of Anger. Songs like Layers of Time and Under the Surface. All have beautiful melodic gothic metal. All have beautiful symphonic metal. So good. This album was certainly a standout of the year. Really showed what the band could do, and had to go on an amazing tour with All That Remains. For number 5, we are getting back into the deathcore scene with Fit for an Autopsy as the number 5 pick for 2019, their album, The Sea of Tragic Beasts. Where do I even begin with this album? It has so many amazing songs. The title track is beautiful. They are one of the bands who are going to be pioneering and helping change the shape and the sound within the deathcore community, and aren't just doing the blast beats, the lows, and the highs, Nor are they just doing breakdowns. So many interesting sounds on this album with songs like Mirrors, Your Pain Is Mine, and Mourn, and Unloved. as well as Napalm Dreams, bringing in those cleaner tones, bringing in those like singing, kind of whispery melodic parts, bringing in those intense breakdowns and drum fills and riffs. The riffs in Mirrors are so good, and the bass parts and the singing. It is fit for an autopsy to a T, purely delivering so many amazing sounds on this album. We have the Children of Bodom and their album Hexed. For all of you melodic death metal fans, this is an amazing offering. Starting off with their song This Road, going to Underglass and Clover, just song after song after song with amazing lyrics, amazing riffs, proving what they are capable of, and an amazing successor to their previous album, I Worship Chaos, just showing that they are not going to stop producing amazing work. Even with unique songs like Hecate's Nightmare and Platitudes and Barren Words. Even their song Hexed has some really amazing riff work in it. This is not an album to be missed, even if you're not into the melodic death metal scene. This is just an incredible, incredible album. It needs to be listened to. Now as we get into the top tier players, we have Korn's The Nothing. After the loss of his wife, Jonathan Davis and the rest of the band went forward to construct this masterpiece. After their previous album, Serenity of Suffering, they continue to reinvent and re-deliver even more unique, amazing sounds. This is one of the most different Korn albums that I've ever heard from them. A completely different sound, both in terms of guitar tones and lyrical content. Opening up with their first single, Cold, immediately with that soaring chorus, you know that you're in for a treat. This album hit for me very personally, and for a lot of Korn fans, it's hit very personally, as it goes through the grieving process and just delivers so many unique emotions. You are exhausted by the end of it, and it is just an album that I cannot put down. After now it has been around for an entire year, I am still listening to it. Next up on the list, number 2, we have The Valley by Whitechapel. As much as they may get some hate for the decision to go completely clean for some of their songs, I think it's an amazing choice. I think it's a wonderful choice, and it adds even more depth and emotion to the album. This is an excruciatingly diverse album, especially for the world of deathcore. With that opening track, When a Demon Defiles a Witch, the first track on the album, the peaks and valleys, the ebbs and flows of the album, just going from those cleans to those intense riffs. And the low growls of Phil Bozeman are executed perfectly. You do not get a better example of deathcore, especially not of Phil Bozeman. And I think that this is going to trend the genre of deathcore into a completely new direction. And Phil Bozeman and the rest of the guys in Whitechapel completely pioneered this album. And it is so unique and so amazing. Every single track is wonderful. All the way from the start at When a Demon Defiles a Witch, all the way to Doom Woods, you are taken on an extremely terrifying, traumatic, and wonderful journey through the valley. For our number 1 pick, we have Slipknot, We Are Not Your Kind. We Are Not Your Kind by Slipknot is our number 1 pick, and my oh my, does this album hit home for me. It hit home for everybody. It was an amazing album. And showing that they could completely keep going, not just after losing Paul and Jay, but also now after losing Chris. This album is, I believe, the new direction that Slipknot is going. It is a continuation of the evolution of their sound that they explored in their previous album, Point 5 The Great Chapter, with songs like Unsainted and Nera Forte and Spiders, continuing to deliver an incredibly unique sound, new, almost getting into like that kind of emo jazz rock kind of feel. Haunting songs like My Pain delve into the abuse that Corey Taylor went through, and then finishing it off with a neck breaker of a song, Solway Firth. Through and through, this album from top to bottom is an experience, and it tells a very horrifying story with intense riffs. This album, they continue to reinvent themselves, continue to make the genre of nu metal live on, and are showing that they're still relevant and able to produce heavy as hell music.